Hey, what's up, fam? Thank y'all for tuning in to the Growth Network. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell. Every time I drop a video, you will be one of the first to know about it. Today, we are about to get into some conspiracy theory situations. Now, me, myself, I am one of the biggest conspiracy theorist believers. I believe a lot of this stuff that we see ain't real, and what's real, we don't see. But this and here, we're going to go back to the Uvalde school shooting. Now, we all know that it was just interesting how this young boy gets into the school through a locked door. But I brought this story to y'all last week. There's one thing I touched on, and it mentioned in the story that I read, it mentioned that there was a security firm, that the Uvalde school district had hired, purchased some software in order to monitor social media activities to thwart instances like this here, like school shootings, threats to schools and stuff like that. And somehow it failed. So we're gonna get into that a little deeper today. A lot deeper. I'm gonna hit up a couple of websites. You know, I usually don't go to CNN, but with the other website I go to, they go a little bit in detail in it, but then they kind of rehash the whole thing that I said last week. So I just want to kind of stick to this topic here. So I got this here from CNN, and it said Uvalde School District had detailed security plan in place at time of elementary school massacre. Let's get into this. It said the Uvalde School District, where 19 children and 2 teachers were killed by a gunman this week, had a safety plan that included its own police force, social media monitoring, and a threat reporting system to provide a safe and secure environment for students. So to me, the question is, you did all this, and how well did it work? Because I'm quite sure Uvalde is not a big school district. They can't have too many doggone schools in a district, But anyway, they said the 2-page document on the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District website listed 21 different measures. It says it's undertaken for the safety of the school community, ranging from an app for reporting bullying to physical security measures like fencing and a buzz indoor system. It's not clear what degree the plan was developed with active shooters in mind. It's kind of like you can plan for like terrorist attacks, that the U.S. supposedly went over on a constant basis with the airlines, air traffic control, to thwart terrorists, people trying to hijack planes and trying to, run them into buildings. I mean, that's one of the drills they did. And somehow, when it actually happened, nobody knew what to do. All that planning failed. And it's kind of like if you got a patient at the hospital, and you do all these, you practice every month, doing CPR, getting the crash cart, injecting Narcan and all this kind of stuff, defibrillating, all that stuff. But then when it actually happens and somebody actually needs it, nobody knows what to do. People panic. I think this might be the same case, man. Let's think about humans. Everybody would say what they would do in a situation, but you don't know what you would do if you're in that situation. We'll keep that in mind. This Department of Public Safety spokesman Chris Olivares on Thursday said the gunman, identified as Salvador Ramos, was able to make entrance into that school unimpeded. An unlocked door. The door was not unlocked. The door was propped open. And I went into that on an earlier video too. It says we are working closely with the school district, with the superintendent, to see what policies were in place. Now, by now, this is like a 5-6 day old article, so by now they should know what they had in place. It said records show the district spent about $200,000 on security and monitoring services in 2017 and 18, and that figure rose to more than 450,000 in 2019-2020. They say they employed four police officers, including the chief, detective, and 2 officers. The school district also had additional security. So I'm saying I don't think it had a lot of schools, because that's not a lot of them. So that's not a lot of officers. And also had additional security staff who patrolled door entrances, parking lots, and perimeters of the campus. Most likely, probably teachers. So I said, like, too, in the last story, it's like, when you got teachers, mostly people like little teachers or counselors at the front door, who they gonna stop? The plan included a threat reporting system for students, parents, staff, and community members to share information that is deemed troubling, which could include information about weapons, threats, fights, drugs, self-harm, suicide, or disclosures made that are concerning. The police state reports could be made through the district site or a district staff member. They also employed a company called Social Sentinel. That's what we'll get into in depth here in a second, to monitor social media, quote, with a connection to Uvalde as a measure to identify any possible threats that might be made against students and or staff within the school district. The Governor G.R.O.W.T.H said he said the government wrote about his intentions on Facebook, including, "I'm going to shoot an elementary school." A spokesman for Meta, Facebook's parent company, said the government's private one-on-one messages were discovered after the shooting. I think that's what the issue is that the stuff that he was putting out was put on private messages and not like public. Like, you can go on Instagram and just see somebody post something like that. No, he was like DMing people, but still, I think it should have been caught. If they Ramos allegedly sent similarly text messages to a girl he met online describing how he had just shot his grandmother and was going to shoot up an elementary school. The security plan also refers to lockdown drills, students receiving training, and you know what, them students, I think they did what they're supposed to do, but you had an adult in the heat of the moment got caught slipping. I see go through all the protocols, make sure all the doors are locked, all the classroom doors are closed, because I'm quite sure the classroom didn't have any locks on them, unfortunately. But you can't have locks on the door because, you got little silly ass kids that teacher walk out the door, but doors that can't lock from the inside. I mean, you got little silly ass kids, or the parents, the teacher walk out the door, the kids might, lock the door behind them and try to play a prank or whatever, and, it is what it is. In addition, drills are held for each of these emergency actions on a regular basis. 2 other schools, Uvalde High School and Anthon Elementary, have security vestibules, though it is not clear if Rob had one. Probably didn't, because it's elementary school, because nobody think you're going to do anything in elementary school, but that's just like a church. A lot of times, used to be a rule, man. It used to be a code. You don't do anything on the church, what they say. You don't do anything on the Sunday. It used to be, I remember we used to ride, bumping our little rap music loud or whatever, or whatever kind of music loud. When you get to a church or close to a cemetery, we just turn it down. You know what I'm saying? It was out of respect. But now, shoot, these kids don't understand that, man. Like I said, their parents ain't teaching them. But they ain't showing them, you know what I'm saying? Let's see. The plan lists security cameras at the high school and middle school, though it's not clear how many are at the grade school where the shooting happened. So it don't say if they had them. But I feel like this. You gotta watch what they say and don't say. Now, I said the plans list security cameras at the high school and middle schools, though it's not clear how many are at the grade school where the shooting happened. Was that camera at the school, or was it like outside in the parking lot or whatever the case may be? But how come the plan didn't include the elementary school? So basically, they showed you you must have saw an outdated plan if it's not mentioned. If the school's security cameras are not mentioned in that plan. "Quote unquote, key staff was also clear with radios, but it's not clear if those was used within the building or meant to communicate across the district." The document is undated but has 19-20 in the file name, possibly referencing 2019-2020 school year. Man, it's like amazing. I just said that and it ain't even it's just right to the next sentence. The Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District has not responded to multiple CNN requests for comment. Now, like I said, that's sad as all outdoors. But it brings me to this. And this is off thwart.com, and it said after Uvalde, social media monitoring apps struggle to justify surveillance. Critics say that mixed results have not vindicated potential privacy violation. Here goes the conspiracy theory. This is a pretty detailed article, and I don't think I'm gonna get through it all. I'm gonna leave, the link in the description so you can read it yourself. And it starts out to say, with the country still reeling from the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, officials are scrambling for more ways to stop mass shootings and facing hard truths about how ineffective many of our existing tools really are. Digital monitoring technology has come under particular scrutiny after reporting revealed that the Uvalde School District had experimented with a service called Social Sentinel, which claims to identify and alert schools to threats based on social media conversations. Let's see, it's an increasingly common service as schools grapple with the chaos of social media, often raising serious privacy and speech concerns along the way. What to say, people scared of that big brother. Systems like Social Sentinel promise to give genuine insight into the huge volume of information posted on social media every day, parsing out the signal from the noise so that educators can be informed of threats before harm takes place. For these firms, it can be a lucrative business, I'm sure it is, but often they are mining shallow insights from available data, providing few benefits to outweigh the privacy harms. And we all know that. I mean, shoot. They be listening to you on your cell phones every time you push a button, because the algorithm is just kicking in, waiting for you to put in a full word or a full phrase, a full sentence, so they can start, bombarding you with articles and ads and everything else that you ain't asked for, based on something you looked at or said or whatever the case may be. Somebody quoted saying, "Could you imagine schools using toxic material to build classrooms even if it hadn't met any safety standards? No. Similarly, to use unproven, untested surveillance technologies on children." And that's another thing. Where did they get? Well, I'm quite sure it's probably in the student handbook that they was going to use this, without first checking whether they are safe to use, expose children to unacceptable risk of harm. Well, risk of harm, I don't know how effective you are. Kind of like a freaking vaccine. Before you just pull something out and say it's good a week after you make it, I need to know if the sun gun is effective. And usually vaccines don't take years. But that's a different story for a different time. They say multiple requests for comment sent to Navigate 360, which acquires Social Sentinel in 2020, did not receive a response. They say the Uvalde School District was confirmed to have purchased this software in 2019-2020, although it was unclear whether the subscription was still active at the time of the shooting. Well, hell, if you spend $450,000 on it, it better be. However, even if it had been, the technology would have been unlikely to flag any of the shooter's posts. There are now numerous reports of concerning activities surrounding the shooter's online activity. He allegedly made frequent threats to young women and girls via chat apps, sent images of guns to acquaintances, and reportedly discussed carrying out the school shootings on an Instagram chat. But Social Sentinel is only able to monitor public posts and would not have access to any content shared in private messages. So my thing is, why would you purchase this website? I know you're probably saying, hey, something is better than nothing. I get it. But when you're dealing with people that post on the dark web, that may be part of these groups, like these extremist groups, supremacy groups, militia groups, and now you see, you wonder why, but now you see how a lot of these groups don't get caught is because the software is not capable of detecting private messages. Or some software. I don't know all of it. Anything that's really private, you have to get consent from the user. You understand what I'm saying? Like now you putting messages on, like you putting posts on the Instagram or Facebook or what have you page. That's different because that's public. Anybody in the world can see it. But if you're doing like a private DM or a private, just a private message to a person, that is not public. That is private between two people. So then you would have to get permission from the two people that are exchanging messages with each other. You have to get permission for them to monitor. And most people are not going to give you that permission. And that's why I say this here. That's why this website was pretty. This software was pretty much useless. It say at the same time there are significant privacy concerns with software. I can imagine. In 2019, the Brennan Center for Justice outlined a range of civil and human rights concerns stemming from expanded social media monitoring in the K-12 schools. Among them, the questionable effectiveness of the technology in combination with a tendency to disproportionately impact students from minority communities. Basically, they're saying they just make sure black folks don't know what you're monitoring for, because they like you care. Because if it was actually working, I think you could, maybe you could stop a lot of these crimes that's going on. But you got but they don't put stuff in private messages. These fools be posting on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, Reels, and stupid stuff like that, and posting guns and drugs and flossing and shooting and fighting. You know what I'm saying? Shit, what you gotta? You don't need nobody to help you monitor that. Hell, just turn it on. Just turn on your internet. You know what I'm saying? Just download the app and just start scrolling. You find all that. You find all kind of dumb stuff. They say in the same year, reporting by Education Week also covered the dramatic expansion of digital surveillance in school, highlighting the large number of false positives generated by social sentinels technology. Let's see what's one of the examples they use. Alerts were reportedly triggered by tweets about the Mark Wahlberg movie Shooter, and from the students pleased, their credit score was quote unquote shooting up, among other things. Amazing. Of all the U.S. states, Texas has been the most enthusiastic about the use of digital surveillance for school children. A 2021 investigation by Dallas Morning News found that no state has more school districts contracting with digital surveillance companies than Texas. But of the Texas districts that did take out these contracts, results were apparently mixed. A number of school districts that had paid for Social Sentinel told the Morning News that they had declined to renew contracts, describing a service that provided few actionable alerts or flagged mostly irrelevant information. And that's probably what happened in Uvalde. They may have didn't renew the contract because this probably was a waste of money. But these companies, like I said, they're gonna prey on your fear. So I'm sure it's gonna be other school districts around the country who are still gonna try to purchase this software, because they're probably gonna make these promises, and they're gonna, and this is part of the conspiracy theory. Now the government is probably, I think it's a chance that they're gonna try their best to use this to probably mandate to be able to infringe on your privacy, because they're gonna say they need it. Because if they had access to your private messages, they would have stopped this shooting. That's what they're gonna say. It said, but while Social Sentinel advertises an ability to monitor a broad range of platforms, there's some suggestion that its surveillance capabilities are dictated more by the accessibility of data sources than by their importance. A client presentation from the company shared by the EFF lists a range of social media sources for monitoring, including Instagram, YouTube, Venmo, Flickr, Tumblr, WordPress, and even Meetup. Let's see the word discourse on there. Data obtained by BuzzFeed and Discourse, I think, had a lot of racist people on there, and a lot of racist groups on there. Didn't see that on there. Data obtained by BuzzFeed News confirmed that through data obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, which showed the company skewed heavily towards Twitter monitoring. Is that of the 1,206 social sentinel alerts provided to BuzzFeed, 98% related to tweets, even though Instagram, YouTube, and even Facebook are more widely used by younger demographics. But the conventions of Twitter, where the vast majority of posts are publicly visible, even unintentionally, mean that it is comparatively easier to monitor. And that's what it is. You ain't paying for nothing. You paying somebody to do something you can do. Providing a wealth of social media data on tap that can be assimilated by companies looking to boost their surveillance credentials. Like I said, it's all a farce, man. It's all a fraud. It's just a bunch of bullcorn. Let's see. Tackle some landscape as companies promising to safeguard the well-being of children and teens through a range of monitoring services that will keep tabs on their digital lives. Social Sentinel is a major player with gaggle and security often cited as main alternatives. Though the efficacy of services like Social Sentinel is contested, investors have backed social media monitoring companies to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. And they're going to continue to do it. Like I said, because they're trying to get to that point where they can monitor all your little private information, all your little private text, calls, and everything else. Betting on the longevity of digital surveillance as a feature of the educational landscape. And if you got like big investors investing big money, you best believe they know something that you don't about what's coming in the future. Pay attention to all your politicians. Pay attention to your laws they're trying to pass and your elections and what these people are backing. And who's paying? Who's paying who? Who's supporting these politicians? Despite critics' objections, the perception of social monitoring is a high-tech, relatively low-cost safety solution has proved to be attractive for school districts across the country. Until schools can be made safe by other means, like desperately needed gun control. Oh, this must be an op-ed. By desperately needed gun control legislation. And like I said before, shout out to Chris Rock and Philip Scott. You just got to tax them bullets, man. Tax the ammunition. Forget the guns. You can have all the guns. You can buy 1,000 guns. Niggas, if they can't afford no bullets, it don't matter. It seems likely that the expansion of surveillance technology will continue, and it will. But, the lesson, I guess the lesson to be learned here is, like I say, they're going to keep the surveillance up. This is not going away. A lot of stuff is not going away. Just like these electric cars. I know Biden said something the other day about something he said. I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically the way he said it was he's pretty much going to make sure that you by everybody having an electric car here pretty soon. We're going to get rid of all these fossil fuels. He said he trying to stop, want to limit, reduce, or wipe out the use or need of fossil fuels. So they let you know right there. Pretty soon everybody will need to have an electric car, or you're gonna be riding a bus, or you're just gonna ain't gonna have no transportation at all. But anyway, that's all I got with this story. Been here long enough. Tell me what y'all think. Y'all like me? This is a conspiracy theory. Like I said, they might use this, politicize what happened a totally different way. Everybody talking about, and that's the thing you got to watch. What they call it, smoke and mirrors, like a sleight of hand, magic tricks. When the powers that be, are harping on something so hard in your face all day, every day, 9 times out of 10, there's something else on the other side that's not talking to you about. So with this whole Uvalde shooting, it's talking about guns and gun control. Protecting the kids. They talk, the police force, and is the police force useless? And they're probably gonna talk about defunding or funding the police. How they're not doing their job. That's why, if you look at one story, it said that the school district police department stopped cooperating with is it the DPS, or stop cooperating with whoever federal officials, because the DPS chief said something bad about them last week, saying that their choice of not going to school was the wrong move. So that pissed them off. So you saw that blue wall come up. Am I mad at them about that? Nah, I'm not. You know why? Because that's what everybody should do. That's what we as a people really should do. We should do like the blue wall. When you do somebody on the outside, when we doing what we need to do to help ourselves or to help other people, and other people want to sit there and criticize, anybody say something bad about our folk, you be like, okay, you don't want to deal with us, then we out. Oh, we all criminals? So we all gang bangers, we all sell drugs or drug users. Okay, that's fine. Then we're going to dip out your community, do our own stuff. Let y'all fend for yourself. Let y'all find some other minority or whatever the case is, another punching bag. We going to do our own thing. That's the way everybody should be. But anyway, like I was saying, we're talking about the gun control, like I said, and the policing and how good it is. But one thing they're not talking about, like I say, is the surveillance. Because like I said, they brought this up last week in an article about this company. But then I heard nothing else really major about it. It's on, you can go on like the websites and, do like I did and just Google and saw it. And the articles are not really that long. They just talk about how they did surveillance and it just didn't work well. And a lot of stuff is like, not really like concrete saying what happened or what didn't happen, acting like they don't know what really happened. But shoot, like I said, you gotta watch it, because that's another thing they want to do. They want to be able to dip into your privacy at all times and all costs. That's why you got to study your politicians. Find out what they are, why they are running, and what they're supporting. Not just voting because they are Democrats, or not just voting because they are Republicans. You vote because the issues benefit you, give you something tangible. That's what these major companies and these major donors who donate to these super PACs and these campaigns for these politicians. When you got money and you giving large sums of money, them politicians listen. And like I say, I guarantee you, if people are investing in these companies, that means the same people and or these companies are going to be giving donations to these politicians' campaigns. So pay attention to that. Midterms are coming up. It's probably going to be something real important that's not going to be said really out loud, or something that you probably going to have to go down to your state capitol, or and sit on some legislative sessions, or go down to your city hall and sit on some of these legislative sessions that they have and see what they're talking about. Because trust me, something like this, they're not going to say too much out loud to you guys. But anyway, let me get out of here. That's all I got to say. Tell me what you think. Like I said, am I over conspiracizing this, or am I on the right track? Leave your comment below and then share it to the world. And with that being said, I leave you in peace, and I will see you on the other side.